Yo, what's good, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we have our pre-March Madness NBA mock drafts. I believe this is also the mock draft or our first mock draft where, in the lottery odds, Washington is favored or has the worst record. But yeah, pre-March Madness NBA mock draft. I'm gonna make one post-March Madness as well. If you haven't seen my March Madness predictions, it's probably gonna be linked at the end of this video. It's also going to be linked somewhere in the top right during the video. But yeah, just watch that because I'm trying to get the perfect bracket. Become the first person to ever do it. Most likely won't happen, but you never know. It's got to happen someday. But I will be doing an NBA mock draft here. Yes, some things have changed. I think the Houston Rockets have slightly better odds because the Nets have been a little bit worse as of recently. Lakers are now the 10th seed instead of the Warriors. Other than that, not too much stuff notably. Obviously, player rankings have definitely changed since my last mock draft, which was near a month ago. So we're going to run this lottery, see who gets the first overall pick, and just go from there. At 14, we're going to be staying with the Blazers. Looks like everything is uniform right now, except the Thunder are able to jump into the top 4. The Spurs have the third overall, or excuse me, not the Spurs. The Raptors jump from 8 to 1. It is the Raptors pick. That pick is top 6 protected. The Spurs are at 3. The Thunder are able to jump from 11 to 4. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting. I'm going to make sure that this pick actually goes to the Thunder and not the Jazz. So actually, according to KSL Sports, the first round pick is top 10 protected in its first year. So I think I'm going to give it to the Jazz. If this is wrong, you could say it in the comment section, but I'm going to trade it to the Jazz, just because I think that is where it should be. Going to be using all teams. I do have a big board. I don't know if I'm going to make a video talking about it. I also made this big board like a month ago, so it's very outdated, but I'll use it because, I mean, you know what? I'll actually use the Fans Post big board. Don't know last time ESPN made a big board, and I'm assuming that their own website is going to update it pretty regularly. So we're going to be using the big board. We have our lottery result, and let's get right into this mock draft. With the first overall pick, we have the we have the Toronto Raptors. Since we're only doing a one-round mock draft, we're going to be giving the 31st overall pick, which is a second-round pick, to the Spurs in return for the first overall pick to the Raptors, because that is the Raptors pick. It's top 6 protected. With the first overall pick in the draft, I'm going to give the Toronto Raptors Alex Sarr. There is a bunch of talk whether Zachary Reese-Sachet gets it, Nikola Topic, see if Cody Williams has a big March Madness and is able to solidify himself as a top 3 pick. Anything else we have, I guess I said Nikola Topic already. Other than that, probably not too many guys. I mean, Reed Sheppard has been in talks, but I don't really consider him the number 1 guy. Top 5 guy, you can make the argument, but not number 1. So with the first overall pick, we're going to have the Toronto Raptors select Alex Sarr, forward/center, out of France, but is currently playing in Australia, I believe. Yeah, just amazing defensive versatility, perimeter, interior. I think his main attraction is definitely defense. Offensive side of the ball definitely needs to improve. Needs to improve the outside jump shot. Has okay touch around the rim, but he could improve that as well. But an immediate player comparison I can give for Alex Sarr is probably going to be Jaren Jackson Jr. Jackson Jr.'s jump shot definitely better, but when it comes to the defensive side of the ball, you could really see the resemblances there. I'm going to have Alex Sarr go number 1 to the Toronto Raptors. At 2, we have the Charlotte Hornets, and I think this is going to most likely be wing. Alex Sarr is no longer on the board, so I don't think any centers would be too enticing for them, considering they do have Mark Williams already. So we could look at the small forward position, maybe Zachary Reese-Sachet, also the power forward if they want to convert one of these guys to wings, but I don't think Tejan Salon will go at 2. Maybe Cody Williams we could see, maybe even Reed Sheppard. 2 might be a tad bit rich for you, but we know he has been playing amazing as of recently, won Freshman of the Year for college basketball. But I'm going to give them Zachary Reese-Sachet. Again, another player out of France, but this guy's definitely different from the rest of the French prospects we've seen in the past. He, in my opinion, is the best shooter in this draft class. You could make a case for Reed Sheppard, percentages-wise, but when it comes to volume and the difficulty of shots he takes, I'm going to have to give it to Zachary Reese-Sachet. Player comparison I can see might be Michael Porter Jr. He's a great spot-up jump shooter. Does probably have to work on the dribble pull-ups a little bit, even though he has shown some improvement since previous years. Defensive side of the ball, he gets in the passing lanes very well. I mean, he is 6'8" with 7 feet plus wingspan, so you can't expect that. But not like other French prospects, he's able to shoot the three ball, and that's why I like him a lot. I think he does have the potential to be the #1 overall pick and compete with Alex Sarr for that position. At 3, we have the San Antonio Spurs. They could go a couple of places here. They no longer have 2 first-round picks in this mock draft, so maybe this is where you want to take Reed Sheppard right away. You could also look at possibly Nikola Topic to be your long-term point guard, and I think that is where I'm going to lean with this 3rd overall pick. Has dealt with injuries this year, but to begin the season, he has been just flat out amazing. For the what team does he play for? Let me search it up real quick. Gonna be honest, don't really know how to say this team, but I do know he started off the season amazingly. Did get hurt, but possibly has the has the opportunity to come back. Hopefully does well at pre-draft workouts. That'll solidify him as a top 10 pick in this year's draft. I have Topic going 3 to the Spurs to be their long-term point guard. I guess I actually did forget to mention Rob Dillingham in that conversation as well, but we know that he is also an opportunity, or has the opportunity to be a top pick this year. At 4, we have the Utah Jazz. I think the #1 position they should look at is guard to, put someone next to Keontae George for the future. I'm looking at Rob Dillingham possibly. Could also look at Jacoby Walter / Reed Sheppard. But with the 4th overall pick, I'm going to be giving the Utah Jazz Reed Sheppard out of Kentucky. He has had I had to trade the pick, so that's why it says that. But he has had a flat-out amazing season for the Wildcats. If he does well in March Madness, he can maybe even get higher on the board. But I think right now Reed Sheppard, amazingly efficient, can hit tough shots a lot better than what we thought he was going to be able to do coming into college. Obviously, one of the best pure three-point shooters in the country, and can, like I said before, can create a shot for himself. Great passer, solid defender, and overall, I think he is a great potential plug-and-play player for the Jazz at 4. Can really slide in right into that shooting guard position, where maybe we see a guy like Colin Sexton now, or maybe even Talen Horton-Tucker. I think Reed Sheppard right now has a higher ceiling than both of those guys, and great pick at 4 for the Utah Jazz. Nice to see them actually have a pick in this mock draft. At 5, we have the Wizards. I think this is also another team that I can see look for guard to try to get their long-term guy. You do have Tyus Jones. You do have, Jordan Poole, even though he's definitely not your long-term guy. Right now, right away, I'm looking at Rob Dillingham here at 5. Could also possibly see center, but don't know how many or how high these top guys will go in this draft. Klingon, don't expect him to go this high. Same thing with Messi and Ware. So I think we have the opportunity to go wing right now in Cody Williams, or possibly go point guard in Rob Dillingham. So it's really just a decision between those 2 positions. And I think at the end of the day, I'm going to give them Rob Dillingham here out of Kentucky. 2 straight Kentucky freshmen going. Rob Dillingham, just like Reed Sheppard, probably was in the conversation as for freshman of the year as well. But at the end of the day, these Kentucky guards are tough, and I'm so excited to watch them in March Madness. At 6, we have a very unlucky team here in the Detroit Pistons, a team who was slotted at 2 before the lottery, but now drops all the way to 6. So they don't get their Alex Sarr, they don't get their Zachary Risache. They could possibly still look for wing here, maybe Matas Buzelis. Don't connect if they want to take a little bit of a reach here. I don't think I'll go connect though. Could also look at power forward maybe, but these guys are definitely a little bit too high. So I think Cody Williams is probably my #1 guy I'm looking at right now. Can probably be a solid bench defender / slasher, slasher. And overall, I think he is a solid, definitely a solid prospect. He has fell down the boards a little bit, at least for me. No longer my favorite college prospect. It's definitely turned into the Kentucky boys for me. But there's still an opportunity for him to end up in the top 5. Not in this mock draft, but we'll see how he performs during March Madness. So at the end of the day, I think I will be taking him with the 6th overall pick. Buzelis and Ron Holland are definitely great options, but injury concerns of Ron Holland and the shooting concerns between them both, I think is going to lean me Cody Williams here with the 6th overall pick. At 7, we have the Portland Trailblazers. think they're a team that can look at center. 7 might be a little bit too high for guys like Klingon and Ware, but you never really know. Could also look at wing here. I mean, Ron Holland and Matas Buzelis are both available, so it's going to be a little hard to pass on them both. Yeah, Buzelis available, Holland available. Probably would lean away from the pure guard here and Jacoby Walter. Same thing with Isaiah Collier and Castle. I guess not really Castle because he's definitely more versatile than the likes of Collier and Walter. But I think with this pick, I'm going to lean Ron Holland here out of the G League Ignite. He is out for the season with a hand injury, but during the season, he started off a little slow, but after that, his three-point shot improved, his overall scoring improved, and I think, at least in my opinion, his defense improved as well. And I think he still deserves, despite his injury, to be a top 10 pick in this draft class. I think he'll slide in pretty well at the forward position. Doubt he starts right away, but a core group of Scoot Henderson, Shaden Sharp. We'll see what happens with Anthony Simons and Ron Holland. Sounds very exciting for me for the future. And maybe a Ron Holland can possibly replace a guy like Jeremy Grant. I know Ron Holland's listed at 6'8", which in my opinion is crazy because he looks about 6'4", but you never really know. Maybe he could slide into that 3/small ball 4 lineup for the Portland Trailblazers, and I like him at 7 to the Blazers. I think for the Grizzlies at 8, I'd be looking most for a bench scorer. Don't know if that's going to be Jacoby Walter. Could also maybe look at Matas Buzelis or even Dalton Connect. But the way this roster is right now, they're going to be looking to win more games, and I don't know if that's going to be keeping this pick. So at 8, it might seem a bit high, and in my opinion, I don't know if he goes this high in real life. I'm going to go Jacoby Walter. I think he fits very well next to Marcus Smart in the backcourt, assuming that they're going to bring Marcus Smart off the bench when this team's at full health next season. But I guess, they could play him at the shooting guard as well. But I think Jacoby Walter is a tad bit more NBA ready than Matas Buzelis. The Grizzlies are looking for a guy who can come off the bench and give them somewhere between 12 and 15 points a game as a rookie. And I think Jacoby Walter does have that ability. And maybe a guy like Matas Buzelis who probably want to give a little bit more time to. But a team who is very happy that the Grizzlies did not take Matas Buzelis at 8 is going to be the Houston Rockets. They could look at point guard, I guess. But, I'm going to keep Isaiah Collier and Castle on the board a little bit longer. And I'm going to take Matas Buzelis here with the 9th overall pick. A guy who really just shouldn't be on the board right now. But the Rockets are able to snag him off the board. At 10, we have the Thunder. And unfortunately, they're in a position where they're no longer able to select 2 first-round picks because the Jazz pick jumped up into the top 4. So I think the number one, position they should view is probably going to be the center position. You have Klingon, you have Ware, you have Misi. Could also maybe look at wings and Dalton Connect to come in right away. That'd be very interesting. Maybe also, it's probably a little bit too early for guys like Furphy and Kaishawn George. Maybe you could look at Salon, but in my opinion, probably should not be the way they go. I think I'm going to give them, with the 10th overall pick, I am going to lean. It's going to be between Klingon and Filipowski. I think I'm going to go Filipowski. I'm going to go Klingon here. Big East, or he had performed very well during the Big East, a big performance during the championship. Do have some problems with Donovan Klingon. I think his foot speed is a little bit concerning. Can catch the ball pretty well. Also is not amazing of finishing around the basket, which is also a bit concerning. But I think overall, teams will see the value of his defense, his rebounding, and his ability to intimidate other players from driving into the paint. I think the Thunder will use that with the 10th overall pick. At pick 11, we have the Hawks. Been noticed for a long time. I think that they will look for a forward position. I think Clint Capella most likely will be gone. This Hawks team, it just wouldn't make any sense for them to bring the same team back because they've been doing it for like the past 5 years and they've had the same result for the past 5 years. So I could look at Filipowski, here at 11. Could also maybe look at a potential guard if they want to move on from a Trae Young or DeJounte Murray. Maybe Isaiah Collier. Stephon Castle is also an option. But I think with the 11th overall pick, I'm going to give them Filipowski out of Duke. I don't love the player. On the court, it's just not Not a great guy. I mean, tries to trip players, but I guess that's just what Duke players do. So I'm gonna have to go past that because um, Grayson Allen's now reformed and is now one of the best shooters in the league. So I'll trust Kyle Filipowski to stop his tripping ways, and hopefully he has a good career getting drafted 11th to the Atlanta Hawks. At 12, we have the Chicago Bulls. I think Castle, Collier are probably my top two guys I'd be looking at. Could also look at the big man position as well if we want to replace a guy like Nikola Vucevic. Could look at Kel'el Ware, who's definitely jumped up a lot of people's draft boards, had a great end to the season. Could also, I mean, yeah, it's going to be between probably Collier, Castle, and Messi. I think for this team, or excuse me, not Messi, Collier, Castle, and Ware. So I decided to end up on Isaiah Collier out of USC. I think the future backcourt of Collier and Kobe White is very enticing for the Chicago Bulls team. Yeah, overall, it's probably just time to reset that organization. Lonzo Ball, hopefully he comes back. Most likely he won't come back 100%. I mean, very likely he won't come back 100%. Lonzo Ball, DeRozan, Zach LaVine and DeRozan. We'll see. Also don't know if they're going to come back next season. Vucevic, we'll see that as well. But we are at the 13th overall pick with the New Orleans Pelicans. I think they are another team who could look at the point guard position and maybe Stephon Castle, even though I think he does probably project into more of a wing. And to replace a guy like CJ McCollum for the future at their point guard position, I don't know if they want to take a guy like Stephon Castle. One Pelicans type of player I could see them pick is maybe Devin Carter here at 13. I would not put that out of the realm of possibility. Could also maybe look at big man here and Kel'el Ware at 13, or let me see if they like him. But I think at 13, I'm going to make a little bit of a, not going to say surprising pick because I do think he's a great player. I think I'm going to take Devin Carter with this pick. The Pelicans do also have the 23rd overall pick, so maybe they can adjust big man there, even though we don't know if it's going to be available. So maybe they have an opportunity to trade up. But when it comes to point guard talents, it kind of falls off after Castle. I wouldn't really consider McCain as a lead guard. Really after Castle, Carter, and Carrington, kind of gets a little bit shaky. But, so I think I will be taking, you know what, I'm actually going to give them Kel'el Ware. The center position is just very weak for the Pelicans right now. I mean, right now it's Valanciunas, it's Larry Nance, and it's Cody Zeller. It's a bunch of veterans. Valanciunas, he's also an upcoming free agent, so we'll see whether or not he re-signs with them. Cody Zeller and Larry Nance, in my opinion. Larry Nance is not a bad backup big. Wouldn't really consider him a center. And Cody Zeller is really not a good value backup big at all. So I think getting a guy like Kel'el Ware, who in the right situation can come in and start right away, would be very big for the Pelicans. And I think he has definitely worked himself into the lottery conversation right now. Also, Blazers are definitely mad that he was not slipping to them at 13, or at 14, excuse me. But the Blazers will end up still taking a big man. It's going to be Yves Missi out of Baylor. I like this player a lot. An amazing lob threat, a great interior defender, at least when it comes to shot blocking, and has overall improved great over the season in terms of actually making moves in the post and getting, or I guess creating shots for himself. I'm going to have him go 14 to the Blazers, where maybe it's a little bit high, but when it comes to picking big man, I think after Kel'el Ware and Missi, there's not much more you could take, and so I'm going to have Missi go 14 to the Blazers. At 15, we have the Raptors, and I really like this pick I'm about to give them. It's going to be Devin Carter out of Providence. The Raptors are able to get this guy at 15. They'll be extremely happy. Don't know if he's going to be a future backup guard or a future starting guard, but getting a guy with a high defensive motor, a guy who can create a shot for himself pretty well. I mean, was struggling during the Big East tournament a little bit, but regular season, we saw him was able to create his own shot. He's an amazing slasher, finds any angle to get to the hoop and to lay the ball off the glass. Overall, he's going to be a very solid NBA player. It's very hard to see a situation where a guy like Devin Carter becomes a bust, even though when you're drafted at like late lottery to early teen or to mid-teens, you can't really be a bust because you're around where it's role player range, and I think Devin Carter can be a great backup guard or maybe even a starting guard in this league, and I love him to the Raptors at 15. Another team player fit I love in this draft is if Don't Connect slips to 15 and the Magic are able to select him. Connect is an amazing collegiate player. We'll see if he wins Player of the Year. Most likely going to go to Edey, but we know what Don't Connect brings. Much more than a shooter as well. Can create his selfish shot at any 3 levels, in the paint, in the mid-range, and at the 3-point line, of course. Don't Connect's an amazing player, and I think right away for the Magic, he's going to come in and bring great shooting, but also great creation off the ball and on the ball. I love Don't Connect. I think in another situation, he can end up being a lottery pick. But if the Magic are able to snag him at 16, they're doing something right. At 17, we have the Philadelphia 76ers. I think we could look at big man here and maybe is he listed as small forward? I guess Tyler Smith's listed at small forward. Could look at not small forward, but we can look at Tyler Smith here to be a backup big for the Sixers. Could also look at maybe, no centers right now are too intriguing. Point guards, Castle kind of falling a little bit. They could select him here. Maybe want to take a guy like Bub Carrington as well, who had an amazing ACC tournament. But I am going to lean Tyler Smith here at 17 for the 76ers. It's basically I can't even say small ball center. He's 6'11", but it's basically a small ball center who's able to stretch the floor. Amazing defender. Overall, he's a very solid player. Just like Devin Carter, it's kind of hard to see this guy fail in the NBA just because of how many talents he does have on both sides of the ball. Like I said before, honestly has one of the purest jump shots in this class, and defensively, he's very solid as well. I think the fit to the Sixers is great, and I think the Knicks are very happy that a specific player has fallen to them at 18. In another situation, I'd probably look to take big man here, but with Messi, Ware, Klingon all off the board, I think it's time to get themselves a nice backup guard in Stephon Castle. In the right situation, Castle, maybe can make the comparison to Josh Hart, but in the right situation, Castle ends up being the best player in this class, and that's just the most blatant way I can put it. Castle has a lot of potential. I think not that it was hindered by the UConn Huskies, but the player that he was supposed to be at UConn was to help them win a championship, and right now they're in a great position to win a championship. So he was a role player in college, didn't really have the same opportunities as some of these other freshmen, like Rob Dillingham and Reed Sheppard, who had the ball in their hands a lot more. So maybe his stats don't stand out to you a lot. The three-point shot does have to improve, but he was in a situation where he had to be a role player, where he had to be a high post player, where you would not expect Stephon Castle to be out of Newton High School when we saw him play. So the Knicks are taking it. I'm not even going to say taking a chance. It's a great pick at 18, but the Knicks are taking a player where, if all things can go right, he could be a very solid player in this league, maybe even a star in this league. Who knows? Great physicality, can score on 2 of the 3 levels. He's an okay mid-range shooter. He gets an amazing slasher. Also uses his strength. He's 6'6", around 215 pounds. Three-point shot needs work, though. We'll see if the Knicks are able to untap this guy's potential, because he has a lot of it. At 19, we have the Heat, and I'm going to select Ryan Dunn out of Virginia. This guy has an amazing opportunity to play at a national level tomorrow, or at least from when I'm recording this. I think actually you guys will see this video. Actually, no, you guys are going to see this video on Wednesday, which is the day after the Virginia-Colorado game, I believe. Yeah, Virginia-Colorado State is tomorrow at 9:10 p.m. And honestly, definitely the best game out of the first 4. ACU versus Texas A&M. CC is that NIT, because I know that it's not March Madness. But yeah, Ryan Dunn has a great chance to display his talents on a national level. He has the ability to get his team into the tournament, and I think with a big performance tomorrow on Tuesday and the opportunity to perform well in March Madness, could maybe get him into lottery talks. But for right now, he's a very solid defender. He's 6'9", let's say 6'8", whatever, 6'8", 7+ foot wingspan. Great defender on ball, great defender off ball. He's an amazing shot blocker for a wing. And overall, I think he's a perfect guy for the Heat culture that Erik Spoelstra brings. And I like the fit at 19 to the Miami Heat. At 20, we have the Atlanta Hawks. And I might go some that might be a little bit high for this draft pick. Just scrolling down a little bit. But I'm going to give them a backup guard. I don't know if they're going to be moving on from DeJounte Murray. I don't know if they're going to be moving on from Trae Young. Either way, we already had them pick Kyle Filipowski as another big man. I'm going to have them take Bub Carrington out of Pittsburgh. I think this is the highest I've had him so far. Had an amazing start to his collegiate career with the Pittsburgh Panthers and was probably a lottery pick until conference play came around. Slowed down a little bit, but during the conference tournament, he did his best to get Pittsburgh a couple of wins. I think they got 1 or 2. Then they did fall to North Carolina, but he definitely has solidified his name as a first-round pick in this year's draft. And I have him go as high as 20 to the Atlanta Hawks. At 21, we have the Phoenix Suns, and I think the main focus in this draft for them should be a guy who can come in and contribute right away. Don't know if it's going to be a backup guard. It could really be a backup at any position. Could also use big man, so maybe look at a guy like Ethan Almanza, Bobby Klintman as well, even though I'm probably going to veer away from him. Tajon Salon still being on the board is definitely a bit interesting. I think I'm going to have him keep falling, though. Kevin McCullough, I think with his injury, is going to have him out of the first round in this mock draft, at least for me. Could see Jared McCain possibly. And I think with this pick at 21, I'm actually going to give them a proven college basketball player here in Terrence Shannon Jr. He's just been purely one of the best players in college basketball this season, and is also going to be a great bench scorer for the Suns right away. Could they look at forward possibly in maybe a Dylan Jones or Tristan da Silva here at 21? Maybe. Kind of feels a bit early for me. That is why I'm going to go with Terrence Shannon Jr., but I think the main thing they should look at is a guy who can come in and contribute right away, because this team is trying to win a championship. With the 22nd overall pick, we have the New York Knicks, and I think the way the board has fallen so far for them, they should be happy that Tajon Salon is still on the board, and I think they're going to take the high potential guy out of France with the 22nd overall pick. Stephon Castle, Tajon Salon, first round draft picks would give the Knicks a very high grade once I make my NBA draft grades. I like Tajon Salon. I think he does have a lot of potential. The jump shot does need to improve. Also, probably has to put on a little bit more weight, 207. It's not necessarily light, but I would like to see him in the 220 range once he reaches the league. 22 to the Knicks, though, is great value. At 23, we have the New Orleans Pelicans, and with selecting Kel'el Ware with their first-round pick, probably want to look for more of a guard here with their second one. I see Jared McCain. I think, honestly, he's falling down the board a little bit for me. I could draft him here at 23. Don't know how much the Pelicans would be interested in a player like him. But maybe with this pick, they're going to be looking at picking the best overall player. And I think that is probably going to be Jared McCain. Don't think he'll be their future point guard. I think they'll probably have to find that next year or maybe in free agency. But I think ending the draft with Ware and McCain is not bad for the Pelicans. I mean, they're a team that's trying to win now. Sitting at the 5th seed or the 4th seed right now. I think they are sitting at the 5th seed, because you have the Nuggets, you have the Nuggets, you have the Timberwolves, and you have the Thunder top 3 with the Clippers at 4, which means they're at 5. Good value with Jared McCain at 23 to the New Orleans Pelicans. Next, we have the Milwaukee Bucks. They could be looking at center. I mean, Bobby Portis with a very big game against the Suns just a couple days ago. I don't know how many of these centers I'm trusting to go this high. I'm just simple as I'm not trusting any of these centers to go this high. Obviously not a Daymar anymore. PJ Hall, Bona, Bradshaw, and Edey all feel like second-round picks to me. Possibly Edey. Maybe. But looking at the forward position, could end up selecting Ethan Almanza with this pick, maybe even Deron Holmes. Also, Iguodala is also probably interesting. Honestly, also Iguodala, I like the fit here at 24. Could also look at Ulrich Kamche out of the NBA Academy in Africa. But with this pick, honestly, I'm going to go Oso Iguodala here at 24. I think him as a backup forward or slash center for the Milwaukee Bucks, honestly, I could see him getting minutes right away. He's a great player overall. Amazing touch around the rim. The defense probably does have to improve a little bit. But with an improving jump shot, great touch around the rim, obviously his patented floater, I think also Iguodala will find himself in the first round when the draft comes around. At 25, we have the Wizards, and previously I mentioned how I wasn't too interested in getting Kevin McCullough in the first round, but honestly, that can probably change right here. Could also look at big man. We mentioned Zach Edey before. I think I will have him slide into my second round, though. Wing is a positional need for the Washington Wizards, So I can see a guy like Kevin McCullough, maybe Johnny Furphy, except I'm not going to draft him because I think he'll stay at Kansas for another year. Could also see, well, Keyshawn George, Justin Edwards maybe, if they want to bank on his potential. Maybe even Dylan Jones. I think I am going to take, I'm going to take Kevin McCullough with this pick. Draft stock has fallen a little bit just because of his injury, but we obviously see the impact he has on this Kansas roster. With him on the team, I think they are a top 10, maybe top 5 team in the country. Honestly, I'm comfortable saying top 5. Obviously, Hunter Dickinson needs to be there as well. Without him and Dickinson, they're probably looking outside the top 25. That's how it's looked. So, Kevin McCullough, high value player at 25. He's a guy that should pretty much demand minutes right away for the Washington Wizards. At 26, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think one thing they can be looking at is probably positional size wing. Maybe a guy like Tristan da Silva, Dylan Jones out of Weber State. Dylan Jones would be interesting to this team, honestly. I'm kind of liking the fit. Looks like these guys have him a little bit lower. But yeah, Keyshawn George is interesting, though. I mean, I don't know how I want him in the first round here. Unfortunately, he won't be able to display his talents. Won't be able to display his talents this March because of Miami's lack of success. But I think I am going to, I'm going to give them Tristan da Silva out of Colorado. Just like Cody Williams has a chance to display his talents or nationally in general. And I'm excited for him. I like this Colorado team. KJ/Kenneth Simpson, Tristan da Silva, and Cody Williams is a fun trio. And I think overall they do play well around each other. Honestly, I think kind of surprising Colorado was a last 4-in team because they made it to the conference championship. Did lose to Oregon, but they made it there. So that was interesting in itself. But I'd like to see Colorado win this game tomorrow against, who do they play? I know it's a Mountain West team. Yeah, they play against Boise State. Actually, they do not play tomorrow. They play on Wednesday. Yes, Mountain West team in Boise State. I like the fit of da Silva to the Cavs at 26. At 27, honestly, we have a kind of easy one. I like the fit of Bobby Klintman to the Nuggets. I think as a power forward/small ball center, he fits very well into what that team is looking to get. A positionally sized wing with the opportunity to hopefully put on a couple more pounds. He is 225. He's not a small dude, but hopefully put on a couple more pounds. Maybe transition into that small ball 5 type role off the bench, obviously behind Jokic. But Klintman has a lot of potential, and if there's any team to condense that potential and make him into a good role player, it's the Denver Nuggets. At 28, we have the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think they're a team that is going to be looking for a point guard in this draft. Kenneth Simpson is definitely someone that's interesting to me. Further down the board, maybe not so much. I think Newton and RJ Davis will both be drafted as second-round picks. That's just my opinion. Jamal Shead would be interesting, especially of what the Timberwolves are looking to do. I mean, he has him as number 3 on his big board. That's probably a little rich for me. But honestly, I can see Jamal Shead slide into this first round right away as a good backup guard for this Timberwolves team. Only problem is they're probably looking for, an actual point guard, a point guard who's able to run this team. So that would probably lean me more to maybe Tyrese Proctor, DJ Wagner, or Tyler Kolek. But maybe Shead's someone to look at maybe in a month when we have our champion. Maybe it's Houston. Maybe Shed slides into that first round. But for right now, it's going to stay Kenneth Simpson for me. 4.5 assists, 19 points per game. All around, he's a solid scorer. He's a solid passer. He's a good point guard who's able to create a shot. And I think for the Timberwolves at 28, this is good value. I like Kenneth Simpson a lot, and I think it'd be a good fit. At 29, we have the Jazz via the Thunder. They could be looking at big man here, maybe Zach Edey, also Ethan Almanza. Could be looking at Deron Holmes as well. Guys left on the board, I'm not going to pick Furphy because I think he will stay. DJ Wagner, probably not for this team after selecting Reed Shepard with their first overall pick. I think I'm going to go Ethan Almanza. Just a solid big man off the bench. Hopefully you're able to progress him as a player. Lob threat, great touch around the rim. 217, similar to Bobby Klintman. Would like to see him put on a couple more pounds, especially because I think he is more of a traditional big compared to Klintman, who's a wing. So I'm going to have Ethan Almanza go 29 to the Utah Jazz. At 30, we have the Dallas Mavericks, and I think what they're looking for most is a solid wing off the bench. Right now, it's not bad. You have Sam Hauser, who's obviously more of a shooter in the shooting role for them. O'Shea Brissett gives them some size. But other than that, wings off the bench not looking amazing for the Boston Celtics. Only thing that stopped me from picking Keyshawn George right here is probably just because of his raw abilities. I don't think he's a guy that can come in right away. Excuse me, a guy that can come in right away and contribute a lot to the Celtics. So I probably lean more of a guy like Dylan Jones here. Maybe further down, Jalen Tyson possibly. Other than that, probably no one this far down. I think I am going to give them Dylan Jones here out of Weber State to wrap up my first round. He is a very solid 6'6", 233. He's a compact, stocky player. He uses his strength to get near the hoop. He's also a solid shooter. And overall, I think he's a guy that can come play for the Celtics right away and be solid, because that's what they're looking for. They're looking for solid bench guys who can contribute to their championship success. That's going to be it for my first round. Here is the full thing if you want me to scroll by pick. I think that was a solid first round. Guys who maybe jumped up the board or maybe were a little higher than expected or lower than expected. I think this is the highest I've had Reed Shepard by so far, but it's definitely warranted. Maybe the lowest I've had Cody Williams, but I'm not sure. Jacoby Walter, probably a little bit too high for me. That's just the way the board fell at the end of the day. Other than that, Devin Carter, I think this is the highest I've had for him, but I think it is definitely warranted. We have Castle, maybe a bit low. Other than that, I think this is Terrence Shannon's first time in the first round for me. But other than that, I think this was pretty uniform. I like the mock draft. I'm going to be making another one when March Madness ends, or if there's something big that happens in the NBA. I doubt it. But when March Madness ends, at the end of the NBA season, which probably is going to be around the same time. So the NBA regular season ends on April 14th, and March Madness ends early April as well, first week of April. So I'm probably just going to make one mock draft for that. Yeah, because it won't make sense for me to make a mock draft, days after the other one. Thanks for watching this video. And yeah, make sure to like and subscribe. Leave your video ideas in the description, and I'll see you next time. Peace.